Hello everybody, I said I was going to upload a video and I never actually did. Time got the better of me and it slipped by and I realised I never did it for you, and some of you are really enjoying this, so I thought I'd do an extra juicy bonus half-term Explorer video for those people who are into it. Right, we have got to, I had a bookmark, I'm not sure where I left off as always, I'll just start. Abruptly he rose to his feet. His voice was brisk, artificially, unconvincingly brisk. What are you all sitting about for? Time is precious. Shouldn't you be preparing for your journey? But how exactly? We don't know what to do, said Con. Her voice was almost a whine. Lila shot her a look. The explorer's expression was very dry. If you have a preference for surviving, you'll need to know how to spear fish. There have been exhibitions when the men and I have survived on fish for half a year. Max's face lit up. Fish? Right now? Tonight. There's a small lake not far from here. But I'm hungry now, said Max. It needs to be dark. You can spend the day making spears. I tried that, said Fred. He slapped away a mosquito. But the vines I used to tie the fence on kept breaking off. Vines? The man looked shocked. You don't use vines to secure a spear. That would be like using a packing tape to build a steam train. Idiot boy. You use intestines. Where are the guts from your bird? Con pointed to the jungle where they'd buried the intestines and other rejected bits at a safe distance. Dig them up, heat them over the fire, and use them as string. He made a winding gesture as if tying a knot, and don't bother me until then. He turned abruptly, they were getting used to it now, and strode away towards the far end of the courtyard, towards the tangle of vines that cut off the corner of the square from sight. They undug the intestines. They were not a pretty sight, and being buried hadn't improved them. Con washed them in a half coconut, and Lila and Fred began laying them out on the stones, trying not to look too hard at the semi-translucent tubes. Max tugged at Lila's ankle. Lila, did you hear that? What? The air was silent, bar the constant whir of the insects in the trees above them. Then Fred jerked his head round. It was that same roar he'd heard before, choking through the air. It's coming from there, from behind the vines, he said. I'm going to go and see. No, said Con. He said, don't bother me, and I happen to think if a person has claws for cufflinks, you should do what he says. But what if he's being eaten, said Fred. Surely then it doesn't count. Lila shook her head. I agree with Con. Con looked round in surprise. Really? Whatever it is, he doesn't want us to know, and we can't afford to make him any more angry. Lila turned with unexpected firmness towards the fire. Let's make those spears. Reluctantly, Fred sat down. The morning was a sticky one, and no one smelt better by the end of it. The intestines weren't easy to empty, and the process of heating them over the fire to harden them felt unexpectedly medieval. This is not how I pictured fishing, said Con. I thought it was all old men sitting around on riverbanks telling people to be quiet, like river librarians. Fred opened his mouth to reply, but the guts dripped and spat hot fat at his teeth, so he shut it again. He wondered if his fingers would ever lose the faint scent of dead bird. But by the time the sun began to set, he had a long-handled spear, with a flint glinting in the light. Lila's spear was strong and straight, but the wrapping around the flint had gone awry, where Backer had tried to get involved in the process and covered himself in grease. Con's spear was the neatest. Her hands were competent and controlled, even with bird gut. Fred went in search of water to wash off the grease off his arms. Some of the stones had hollows that collected enough rainwater to wash a small patch. He moved from stone to stone across the citadel, gradually shedding the worst of the burnt grease smell. As he came back, he heard voices. The explorer was kneeling on the ground, bent over his pith helmet. Lila crouched next to him. You have to be gentle with the knees and elbow joints. The explorer was speaking, his voice low. They're still very fragile at this age. Lila nodded. I know. She reached into the pith helmet. I can feel it when he moves. They're so light, like seagull bones. Make sure you check under the armpits for parasites. There. Backer's head reeled up over the edge of the pith helmet, and he let out a wail of protest. The explorer gave something approaching a smile. He's being unnecessarily dramatic. The water's good for him. Now hold him by his forearms. Like this. Lila lifted Backer from his bath, dripping, his legs dangling. Yes, check his stomach for ticks. Lila checked, brushing her fingers over the sloth's belly, her eyes squinting with care. There's nothing. Bacca's fur was plastered against his skull, and his eyes were wide with the front of it. He gave a squawk as he hung from Lila's hands. Now you need to dry him. Swiftly, Lila unplaited her hair. It fell in an even wave to her waist. She lifted the sloth into it and rubbed him gently. Bacca snuffled among the deep brown curls. Fred saw Con, inside the stone room, give the ghost of a smile. Max was half asleep, his head on Con's lap. The explorer raised his eyebrows. The corners of his mouth lifted half an inch. I doubt that particular strategy would be suggested in veterinary college, but good. The sun was dipping over the top of the statue of the panther. The explorer looked up and saw Fred watching. He sprang to his feet, as if embarrassed to be caught mid-kindness, his bad leg catching on his good one, suddenly brisk again. Right, are you ready to go? You each need to take some fire with you. The fish eyes shine red in the light. Find slow-burning wood, something dense or it'll burn too quickly. They set off in a single file through the dark trees, each carrying a burning branch. Bacca rode, still slightly damp, inside Lila's shirt. The explorer moved without a single rustle. The rest stumbled behind him, stubbing their toes on unseen roots. A branch whipped in Fred's face, and the leaves blackened in the flame of his torch, but the wood was too green to catch fire. Don't burn down the jungle, please, said the explorer without turning round. Fred found to his surprise that the dark no longer seemed threatening. It still made his skin tingle, but the pitch-black shadows under the trees no longer bit at his stomach the same way. The change had been so slow, he hadn't felt it come. There are ant mounds everywhere here, said the explorer. Nothing too bad. The only dangerous ants are the bullet ants, but you don't want to disturb them if you can help it. I was attacked by a colony once when I was asleep. It looked like my whole body was covered in warts. Oh, said Lila. Wow. Quite. Not good for the morale. They went in a new direction, northwest, down a steep incline. Every time their branches burned down to their hands, they pulled new ones from the trees and lit them. Twice Fred lost his footing and slid until he came up against a tree. Max tripped, ate a mouthful of mud, and they had to pause until his screaming died down enough for him to walk on. Lila tried to comfort him. The explorer turned away and studied a dung beetle with angry intensity. The lake, when they came upon it, was larger than Fred had expected. The trees that grew all around it had spread their roots onto the water. The explorer took off his shoes and waded in knee-deep. Come on, quickly, he said. What are you waiting for? Fred followed him into the water, feeling it soak his shorts and praying there was nothing in it with teeth. Bless me. Nothing in it with teeth. Where was that, though? Okay. The lake was pure black, except where his burning torch cast a yellow light down through the water to the mud and stones of the lake bed. In the glow of the flames, pairs of red eyes flitted and flashed under the surface of the water. Max laughed, delighted. The bigger the eyes, said the explorer, the bigger the fish. Move slowly towards them. Hold your torch close to the surface. You lower the spear as slowly as you can into the water, and then, at the last moment, you jab, jab, fast. Don't jab your own feet. Now split up. Lila and Con exchanged sceptical glances. They moved off across the lake, but they didn't split up. Their breath was audible. It was hard to tell in the dark, but Fred thought they might have been holding hands. Max reached out and took Fred's hand. His palm was warm and sticky. Let's fish, Max said. Fred fumbled, trying to arrange his spear properly while keeping the flame away from his face. If I give you the torch to hold, he said to Max, will you try and not burn my hair off with it? Max took the burning torch. Maybe, he said. The spearing was harder than Fred had expected. The spear was thin and supple in his hand, but every time he brought it down over a fish, the fish was gone. A swarm of mosquitoes passed over them. Max sneezed and waved his burning branch over emphatically. Max sneezed and I sneezed. Right, that was the next little bit of the book. It's got quite a way to go until the end of the chapter, so I stopped there. A couple of things you might want to do if you're bored during May half term. You could write a set of instructions for how to do this nighttime fishing. And if you listen back to this bit I've just read you, it explains how you do it. From making the spear, what it might look like, how to make that, onto how you actually do the fishing itself. So a set of instructions if you want to, or you might want to do arty and draw them catching the fish as a team, the explorer and the children. You might want to draw the spear itself or design a spear and draw that out and label the different parts, including the intestine bit, if you want to. So three different things, optional if you want to. If you're not doing much else and you fancy something to do, you can go ahead. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.